Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today our guest is Dave Seymour. Thanks for being on the show, Dave.
Hey, Whitney, great to be here, man. I've already enjoyed that conversation pre-show, so I know this is going to be a cracker.
Awesome. No, pleasure to have you on. Dave's a retired 16-year veteran of the fire service, launched his real estate career over a decade ago, rapidly becoming one of the country's top investors. His unabridged passion for business and real estate put him on the radar of A&E television network, as well as multiple news organizations like CBS, ABC, CNBC, and Fox News. Dave's blue-collar attitude in the white-collar world is why investors seek his advice and want to invest alongside his team at Freedom Venture Investments. His partnership with Shark Tank's Kevin Harrington has disrupted the private equity landscape, allowing investors access to institutional quality commercial real estate assets that have only been normally for the elite. So Dave, welcome to the show. Honored to have you on. Tell it, in case the listener hasn't heard of you, give us a little more of that background and what you've been up to. Sounds like you've been up to some really big things recently. And let's dive into a couple key things that I know that are going to help the listener.
Yeah, for sure. Now, First of all, I got to have my team tighten up that introduction, man. That's way too wordy, way too long. Look, man, how do we do this? My career was very, very blue collar oriented prior to stepping into real estate investing. I always say I kind of like bring a blue collar attitude to a white collar world, because in syndication and large commercial transactions, it's as much about the finance as it is about the actual deal itself. And, I've focused heavily past couple of years on, sharpening up my skill set and my toolbox with regard to finance. And as I'm sure you can testify, the world of finance, financial advisors, large capital contributions and movement, whether through, self-directed retirement accounts or 1031 exchanges and all of those fantastic vehicles we work with, there's a lot of, and I mean this with respect, Whitney, there's a lot of ego in that world. So, I've kind of disrupted that world as much as anything else, in the sense that, I don't delve into the highfalutin terminology of the financial industry. I tell them, hey, stop trying to be smarter than you are. Just give it to me meat and potatoes, give it to me simple. So, we spent a lot of time on that. But yeah, look, I'm probably better known for my time on the TV show Flipping Boston there on the A&E network. 2008, my career started when most careers stopped. I stepped into real estate, as it said in the intro, kind of with a passion, with a vengeance for some change. And, it was interesting. I kind of walked in again with that blue collar attitude. And because I was following people who'd already been successful in real estate at various levels, I kind of didn't take no for an answer. I encouraged every no that came towards me, because I knew it was going to get me closer to a yes. And I've used that firefighter mentality, if you will, where everybody else goes rushing out, we go running in. Kind of used the same thing in my real estate career. And, it got me recognized as one of the top distressed asset investors in the Boston marketplace. Put me aligned with the then AG's office, Martha Coakley. I worked directly with the state of Massachusetts through their abandoned housing initiative. Allowed us to take some of these blighted properties that the banks had kind of like walked away from in 2008, 9, 10. And, we went in there and took over a first lien position on these assets and turned them around, put them back on a tax roll. So I got to see the upside, right? I really got to see the positivity of a good investor, a residential redeveloper, as we called it. And, that created motion. It created attention. TV show was great. Put me on places that I never believed I would be. I'm sitting there on Squawk Box with Joe and Becky and Andrew, and I'm thinking to myself, how did I get here? But, I leaned into it, stepped into it. I love my career as a firefighter, but financially it was a challenge. I followed a lot of the the financial information that's given to the majority of our country, right? Guy said to me one time, appreciate this one, if you will, right? Guy said to me one time, he said, if you show me who somebody gets their financial advice from, I'll show you what their financial future will look like. And for me, that was kind of a little bit of a dagger in the heart with me, right? I was told, trade time for money, work hard, blah, 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 all good fundamentals, but definitely not a recipe for financial independence. So
now, I can relate to that as a police officer, or previously, been a police officer for a number of years and federal agent as well. So I can definitely relate to that.
Oh, you guys know, man.
And appreciate your service there, though.
And you,
hats off to our law enforcement and firefighters and all those first responders that are laying it down, military, every day.
Yeah.
Well,
for sure.
Grateful. It's just neat to see and hear a little about your progression, and from the, first responder world. And I know there's a lot of those that are listening as well that are looking to get into real estate and can relate to your story. Phil's fast forward a number of years now. And I know one thing that you have kind of going for you now that we briefly discussed before the show is just having pocket listings. And I think in this market, and it's always this way, or is what everybody says anyway, right? Is that it's so hard to find deals or increase their deal flow and things like that. But you claim to have pocket listings that everybody else just claimed to have, right? But you actually have them. I thought you could dive into that a little bit, because I know the listeners they're all looking for deals, right?
Yeah.
And that's our issue, as well. So it's just finding the deals. So let's discuss that a little bit.
Look, how do you become an expert in anything, right? You do it consistently and you don't die. That's really it, right? What is it? 10,000 hours to become an expert in any one field.
That's right.
For us, we aligned as a company, Freedom Venture Investments, in just as after COVID hit. Reconnected with a very good friend of mine and a mentor to me, a gentleman by the name of Walter Novicki, in my age group, in his 50s. We've been through some market cycles. We got the scars. We've been through those processes. And Walter had been a residential redeveloper, as well as a commercial land development and apartment house redevelopments. But he'd done it for over 25 years throughout the Gulf Coast region of Florida, as far up to Orlando. So here's the good news and the bad news. The bad news is if you're new and you're looking for your first maybe 3 to 5 deals, you are going to be challenged. I'm not going to paint, pretty stories and put a unicorn in the mix when they don't exist. You're going to have to put in the time, the effort, the legwork, the consistency, the prove yourself. That's maybe bad news for some, but at the same time, it's good news for others, because some people just put their hands up and they say, okay, instead of me putting in the 10,000 hours to be the expert, to get the pocket listings, to be known as the closer in any marketplace, can I leverage somebody else's experience? And that's where we step in. It's interesting. I like your use of terminology. You claim to have, right? You claim to have pocket listings. And, proof is always in the pudding, right? What does the track record look like? So when you combine the track record of the principals at Freedom Venture, myself and Walter, and also our third partner, Eric Wilson, who's the millennial that we absolutely need to make sure that everything runs smoothly, there's probably 55, 60 years worth of experience there combined. Well, during that period of time, your network grows massively, right? So in the Florida marketplace, my partner Walter, when we combined in April of 2020, he's known as the closer. Alvani Capital had done a $250 million worth of transactions just in commercial real estate alone, raised $125 million in private equity, deployed that capital, paid it back with its double-digit targeted returns, never missed quarterly distributions. So that makes some noise in the marketplace. And yet it was still boutique enough that there was a good relationship between the investor and the GP. The LP and the GP relationship was always strong. So, that's what works for us. I mean, I've got approximately 28 million either under contract or in their final negotiations of LOI to get under contract right now. And every one of these deals combined is a solid either core plus, or the new classification I've created is a core plus plus. And,
Plus, yeah.
Yeah, plus. It's not quite a value add, but it's not quite a core plus. It's in between. So we create a new asset class. But the thing is every one of those deals you didn't see. My competitors didn't see. Nobody else has seen those deals because it's that old story of the motivated seller, Whitney, who has to get into a position where can you close? Can you close quickly? We always say it's got some hair on it. Some of these deals are a little hairy, and we're able to, pivot, negotiate. We're well capitalized to move fast or slow, depending on the needs of the seller. So that's the trick.
A couple of things there I wanted to go back to. And the first is you mentioned, which I think is very crucial to the listener, because we all want to get to that 10,000 hours as fast as possible, right? We all want to become that expert. But you mentioned like partnering with the experience. And we've talked about partnerships so many times on the show, but it's just so crucial. It's like you got to get it out of your head that you're going to do everything, right? Or you're going to be the best at everything. You're going to get this done because you're going to get there slow, right? And so talk a little bit about like partnering with the experience. Speak to the listener who's like, I don't even know where to start to find that person who's got that experience I'm looking for. Can you just speak into that a little bit? And then I want to move into finding those motivated sellers like you're talking about. But first, partnering with that experience.
Yeah, look, we leveraged out the notoriety or the recognition of the brand of myself from the TV show Flipping Boston, and also one of our partners, Kevin Harrington, the original shark from Shark Tank. That attracts or rejects. It depends, I guess, but that attracts the retail investor. Look, as well as I do, there are probably hundreds of thousands of doctors, surgeons, dentists, attorneys, business owners, chiropractors who are so engrossed in trading time for money, agreed at a very high level, or compensatory level, and yet don't have the ability to work their capital at a higher rate of return. They just hand it over to the stock market. The stock market beats them up, rides them up and down, up and down. It doesn't offer the alternative investments. So the first thing is this, man. You gotta seek it, right? It's religious. Those that seek shall find. And when an accredited investor gets sick and tired of the same old, then they'll ask questions. And look, it's what I believe this. What an investor has to understand is you are investing with the team. Real estate is real estate. It's either a good deal or a bad deal. It's underwritten properly or it isn't. But you're really investing in the team. So some of the things I always suggest is, what is the track record of the team? What is the availability of that team? Because it's a partnership. We're in bed together for 3 years, 7 years, depending on the structure of a deal or whether you're coming into our fund, for example. What does that track record look like? Have they raised money before? Have they deployed it? Have they paid it back? And then the verticals of that team. Do they have property management? Do they have the vertical for construction? Does their story make sense, Whitney? We, as syndicators and professional real estate investors, our story needs to make sense. It's got to tick the boxes. Why Florida? Why now? Why the asset class we pick, right? All of the reasons behind our investment strategies need to make sense. And then read the PPMs. Read the private placement memorandums. Get on a call with the team. Ask the hard questions. And, you will very quickly get a sense of the ability of that team to execute. So to sum that all up, do your due diligence. That's how you find a good partnership.
You mentioned availability of the team. What does that mean when you say that?
I'm glad you picked up on that. Look, man, you can, go on a Google right now and Google syndicators, and, a list of companies will come up. And the reason that they show up first is because they spend more money on jets and Rolls Royces and Google AdWords than they do on delivering, a consistent rate of return. That's my own. I don't want to be the guy who pulls somebody down and builds somebody up. One of the things we did right out of the gate is that we wanted to keep our company at a boutique level, meaning if you have a question for me, the CEO of the company, there is a way to get to me to ask those questions. I won't bring money into our fund or onto our deals until I've touched gloves with the investors. I want a Zoom call. It doesn't have to be hours on end, but it's just a, hey, I appreciate you coming in with us. We're here to support you and help you. Let us know what your goals are first. It's not about me. It's about the investor. What are your goals and how do we achieve them together? So it's accountability, it's accessibility, it's transparency. And, you know, we do a very simple waterfall system that everybody understands. We don't overcomplicate this thing, man. We don't have to. There's so much opportunity out there. So
I like that. Now, I mean, we talk often about, you know, due diligence for passive investors and things like that, you know, learning who these operators are, track record and all. It's interesting. You talk about availability. Not many people bring that up. You know, is the CEO available for you to speak to? You know, I think that's interesting. I've had calls. I know when I was first getting in this business, at calls with syndication groups, right, or companies,
yeah.
and I had a 5-minute call. I'll never forget this. A 5-minute call with somebody that's, you know, not the CEO, and I just thought, whoa, that was fast. You know, like I don't know. I'm not sure I feel comfortable investing with this group. You know? But that was known. Like, it's 5 minutes, and it wasn't with the CEO, and like we're off the phone. Like, I don't know about that. But let's move on. You mentioned finding the motivated seller. Speak to that and how you all are doing that successfully.
Yeah, again, it's the track record in the marketplace. So when you've been doing the same thing successfully for over a quarter of a century, you know, the pre-foreclosure attorneys know who we are. The right brokers in the right markets know who we are. So getting to that motivated seller, we're very proud to say it's inbound lead generation for us right now. You know, COVID created a massive opportunity in the mom and pop asset class, 20 to 150 units, which is where we focus our attention. We let the guys who drive around in the Jets and the Rolls Royces chase the 300 door plus. We'll let them, you know, put the deal together at 3% yield. We'll go in at a 8 to 12% yield because we target that smaller asset class. And to be frank with you, it's conversations. It's conversations. It's been very, very clear with our acquisitions team what we're prepared to underwrite and what we're not. And I'll give you an example. A gentleman, we have 81 units under contract right now, and it's been long. It's been a long process. Like, we've been under contract for almost 5 months with this thing because there's so much hair on it. You know, the seller finds out that there's a massive mold concern on this thing. So now he's got to put another $750 into the property to remediate the mold. You know, some investors would like run for the hills and just bail out of this thing. But this gentleman is going to tell other, you know, investors in the marketplace, you know, Freedom Venture gave me time. They gave me resources. They introduced me to their you know, their verticals, their contracting teams. So it's doing good business is what creates that inbound lead generation. And then once again, you know, you're leveraging whatever tools you have. Police officer, firefighter, people relate to us, right? We're the good guys. So you know, learning how to market correctly is important. But again, track record, it's longevity in a marketplace gets you the motivated seller to call you rather than you have to chase them.
You talked about doing good business. Sounds like, I mean, the golden rule, right? I mean, it's just, right. Doing good business and always doing good business. It's interesting to talk about too, being a firefighter. People can relate to you. Yeah. And I think often we forget about maybe our previous skill sets or our previous careers before we got into real estate and how relatable, you know, we can be to those on the ground, you know, like you're talking about, that can help you even find a deal, right? Or connect you to the right person or right seller. Bedford's Cost Segregation specializes in generating significant tax savings via their engineering-based studies for commercial real estate clients nationwide. Founded in 2002, Bedford is one of the largest independently owned cost segregation providers in the country, with over 14,000 studies completed to date in multiple offices throughout. The most important decision ownership can make when incorporating cost segregation within their real estate portfolio is selecting the right provider. With only 43 certified cost segregation professionals nationwide, Bedford is proud to employ 8 of them and takes the quality of their people as seriously as their studies. Every certified cost segregation professional has passed a rigorous test combining knowledge of technical engineering issues, legal tax issues, ethics standards, and requires a strict level of prior work experience to be eligible. Bottom line, not all cost segregation providers are created equal. So be sure to take the decision seriously from the beginning to protect yourself for years to come. please contact Bedford's Business Development Director, Frank Judici, to learn more. Dave, what about, let's move forward a little bit. What about, how do you prepare for a downturn? Maybe you can speak to how did this last year change maybe the way you've prepared for a downturn, or when you're purchasing a new asset now, how are you prepared for a downturn or another one?
Yeah, great question. So you prepare for a downturn by buying right in the beginning, right? So many investors don't even earn the moniker of investor. They're really gamblers, right? One thing I learned very, very early on in my career is that my number one responsibility is to an investor, period. End of conversation. Walk away from 100 deals to do one deal. So preparing for a downturn, it's interesting. I had this conversation with Walter, who's been through probably 3, if not 4 cycles in his own career. And he kind of upset me a little bit because he said, I think Florida, he said, in my opinion, he said, Florida is going to sit out the next downturn. And I'm like, that's a bold statement, Mr. Novicki. Let's discuss, my brother from another. Let's get into that. And he had some really good points. The underlying causes and conditions of the next downturn will not necessarily be comparable to 2006, 7, 8, right? That was a financial predatory scenario that occurred, whereas this one, it's going to occur kind of in a similar sense because of how the government reacted to it. The COVID Band-Aid is yet to be pulled off. You don't have to pay your mortgage, you don't have to pay your rent. Well, that stupidity only lasts so long, and then the world's going to reset itself because the bank will always get paid. So, the question always is what position are you in as an investor to prepare for that change? So we've got the huge migration into Florida. 1,500 people every single day are moving to the state of Florida where we do our business. So it gives me the population growth. The retirement community continues to grow down there. We're living longer and longer and longer because of the miracles of medicine. And with every retiree creates 4 service jobs. All of the data, right, supports this market. So that's number one. I'm hedging against a downturn because I'm in the right place at the right time. And then for us, the next thing is how we buy. We never over leverage. We go in at a 65% LTV on all of our deals, which gives us security. And then at the same time, because we buy right, we buy with 2-point, maybe 3-point spread on the cap rate on the buy side, so that then when we do a repositioning, we may well be as much as 4 points, spread on market cap and trade in comparison to final product. So we can absorb potential, vacancies. We can absorb potential, financial occupancies not being where you want them to be. So it's a process. But look, man, full disclosure, everything is based on assumptions. Everything is based on, oh, wait a minute, I saw something similar to this before. What happened then? It's these syndicators that, come out of some kind of education arena and figure that they've got a pretty cool spreadsheet, and now I'm an investor. No, you're not. You're dangerous. So track record, history, buying ability, movement of capital, and always being a steward of capital is what keeps our investors in a safe position. And this is a bold statement, but I can say it in truth. Neither myself nor Walter in our careers have lost one dime of investor capital. Never lost one dime of investor capital. And I've always made distributions, not just one time, but every time on time. That's because we work damn hard to buy the right deals.
Nice. Now you said so many great. Yeah. You said so many great things there, Dave. I love how you just went in depth in that question, about focusing on how do we prepare for a downturn. I mean, you just said it right, buying right from the beginning, and went through numerous things there. And I feel like many times operators can't give a good answer for that question. Yeah. And it's unfortunate. And I feel like that was really good. And I love, many things that you said there. It's helping you prepare. But on that same note, what are your predictions over the next, 6 months to a year in the real estate market? And what are your plans?
Yeah, look, when this silliness of, being spoon fed by the government relaxes, And I say that with respect, but I am who I am. I'm a 54-year-old man. I've been on the planet a little while. I've seen some shit. You know what I'm saying? But it's, when the Band-Aid is pulled off, we have to see a spike in foreclosures because the amount of delinquencies has increased dramatically. So we're going to see a migration again. This unbelievably unsubstantiated single-family residential market right now has to flatten out, if not crash. So when that happens, people will need apartments. The same thing with the mom and pop investors nationwide, not just Florida, in your markets as well, man. You know who they are. You probably market to them looking for opportunities. They have not been able to absorb the reserves needed to sustain their assets. So they're bringing more assets to the marketplace. So I see a huge increase in the need for the product we deliver, multifamily assets, good communities, B-class assets, B neighborhoods, so that these families can come in for the next 3, 5, 7 years, reset themselves. You give them clean, decent, affordable, pleasurable housing with great services. You let them reset their lives because fortunately, unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, the same people who got brutalized in 2008 own properties again in 2020, 21, right? So whatever comes next, people will transition out of apartments back into single families. But it's, again, look, the change is coming. It has to. Nothing stays the same. Everything changes. That's the one guarantee we can have in life, is that things will change, right? But again, having the preparation to have some foundation in the predictions for the future is what separates us from, a lot of these companies that will fold very, very quickly. So we're prepared, we're ready, we're aggressive, we're building infrastructure for our next fund, $500 million. We're bringing in institutional capital. We're negotiating a $100 million deal right now for workforce housing, Section 8 housing. Because we know that need is there, but decent Section 8, decent affordable housing. So we're incredibly bullish in this market for sure.
Nice. No, it's awesome. That's awesome just to hear your thoughts on the next 6 months or 12 months, and just saying, hey, it probably is going to happen, right? It's got to correct itself at some point. And so, the last final few questions, Dave, kind of quickly, but do you have any daily habits that you are disciplined about that have helped you achieve success?
Yeah, I do. Look, I'm not a man of religion, but I'm a man of faith. I transitioned out of that environment of the fire department, and as cops and firefighters, we see things that people shouldn't see, right? We get to see how human beings can not treat each other well. So I pray for good deals and good people every day. And one of the things that I do is I ask that my fear be replaced with faith, and that my actions are in line with my intentions. And it's just a little routine that I've gone through for over 30 years now. 30 years I've been on a journey that has done nothing but treat me well. And I always look to a position of, and it's so freaking corny, but I pray for the win-win, man. I pray for the good business. I consistently try and find a way to be grateful. I find that gratitude is it's an engine that manifests good things. So there's a couple of, that's my mindset stuff. Physically, I don't work out as much as I should, but I'm blessed to have a little sauna at home. So I sit in a sauna and sweat my butt off every morning and get the poisons out, maybe listen to some good stuff. I'm going through, Schwartzman's book right now. It's the foundation of how he built Blackstone, and it's kind of interesting to, you always.
What's the name of that?
Alignment. I can't remember the name of it. Hold on a minute. I'll have to pull
That's
it up.
all right.
Book. It's Schwartzman. It's his most recent one.
Okay, we'll find it. I
listen to books. I can't read. I don't have the attention span.
I do also.
Yeah. So
what about what's your best source for meeting new investors right now?
Oh, it's so much work. It's so much work. This is going to sound ridiculous, but and it's not scalable, but it brings me the most quality of investors is what we're doing right now. Podcasting, getting the message out there, being relatable to the marketplace. I've just in the final stages of bringing on a team to go directly to broker dealers, begin getting the message to the poor folks who have been dragging their sorry retirements through the drudgery of a 401k plan, right? So we're trying to get some help there, but I haven't dialed it in as well as I wanted to, Whitney, to be direct with you. It's still a work in progress.
What about the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
It's a mindset thing, man. It's I have an expectation of a 20% return on everything that I do. So if I fall short and I only get a 12% return, still wasn't pretty bad, right? So here's a better way of answering that. Every scenario that I walk into, every new relationship that I walk into, everybody starts at 100, and then they lose points through their actions. Whereas most people, they say, okay, you start at 0 and you earn, right? You earn your points. I find that negative approach to be detrimental to my success. My success has always been that I give everybody 100, and then we start from there and let's see what happens next. Because that's exciting, right? That's exciting to see, can we all perform at the level that we put out there. So that's how I think that's important.
And how do you like to give back?
Tunnels for Towers is an organization that was created after 9/11. After 9/11, I went down to the Bronx with a Salem, Mass firefighter, a friend of mine, Ray Krajewski, and we rode with the guys in the Bronx after 9/11. Some of our guys worked the pile. The organization was created based around the story of a firefighter who was off duty when the planes hit, and then he tried to get back to the city and he couldn't get through the tunnels. And what he did was he basically took his turnout gear and his kit bag and ran through the tunnels and didn't come home. And that organization has been strongly supportive of both veterans, police officers, firefighters, EMT, first responders, and my partner, Walter, who I talk a lot about. I don't share this often, but he's actually Major Walter Novicki, very decorated veteran of a number of, I guess we choked up every time, man. Yeah. Mother, right. You see some stuff, man. You know what I mean? You know what it takes to let this society in which we live operate. There's a lot that goes on that people don't see. So, I have an affinity, obviously, to those people. So that's where we try and get back.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that, Dave. So grateful for your service and all our first responders. I was a first responder as well for a number of years, and it's a job that you just can't almost explain unless you've been there, right? It's not
a job, is it? It's a vocation.
That's right.
It's a vocation. You don't wake up one day and go, yeah, I think I'll be a cop, because those people try and be a cop and they don't last, right? Or they try and be a frontline firefighter medic, and they can't hang, right? They can't hang. You got to know how to break stones, right? You got to be able to break each other down and build each other back up again, because you can't. And it kind of translates into business as well, right? Look to you. I would say this to anybody who wants to be in this game at a high level. Look to your left and look to your right, because you are going to war. It's not easy, right? It's not easy. It's hundreds of millions of dollars. It's ego, attitude, snakes in the grass. Are you going to war with the right people? Do you feel unbelievably confident with your team? And that is absolutely critical. So I look left, I look right, and I know we're unstoppable, right? Because of the commonalities, the mindset that we all bring to the table. So I can go on for days about that.
Love that. No, I appreciate you sharing that. And I appreciate you just sharing so much of your time today. And I mean, we went through pocket listings and partnering for experience, finding motivated sellers, how you operate, preparing for a downturn and what you see coming over the next 6 to 12 months. I mean, amongst many other things, just been a pleasure to get to know you a little bit, Dave, and have you on the show. Tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
Yeah, sure. I'm old school. You can actually pick up a phone. I told you we're approachable. 781-922-4418. Just let my assistant know that you heard us on this show here with Whitney. But if you're not inclined to pick up the phone, you can always get us at freedomventure.com, or just Google my name, man, Dave Seymour, Seymour. And you'll find me. There's some noise out there on the internet. All good, I'm pleased to say. But if you're interested and you want to align yourself with a good team that's doing great works, then give us a shout. Let's have a conversation. Accredited investors, we can get that lazy money out of where it is and get it working for sure.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.